Town Board. The public is invited to participate at the items marked on the agenda, public comment. During that segment of the meeting, if you have a question or comment for the supervisor, please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. Please state your full name and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to start the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our brave men and women fighting all over the world for democracy and freedom, especially for those in harm's way. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask for a motion to amend the agenda for executive session.
I make a motion, we add executive session. I believe the reason be contractual.
Yes.
Be added to the agenda.
Also, I'd like to add to new business subdivision by our code enforcer, Tom Corcoran. And also dialogue on small cell towers. Also, U.S. Coast Guard anchoring site, large commercial vehicles in Milton and Marlborough.
Okay,
Need a motion for that?
so moved.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
I should add too, solar farm. We can talk about solar farm. That's the
Commercial
U.S.
vehicle.
Coast Guard anchoring site for large commercial vessels. That's in Milton and Marlborough. Got a second on that?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Motion to approve the minutes from July 11, 2016 Town Board meeting.
Yes, I will so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Authorized to pay payment of bills of $140,000, $412,000, and $140,412.89.
I'll motion.
Second?
Second.
All approved?
Yep.
Nice. So moved.
Maybe we should
Tonight
wait
we
until-
have a presentation
Yeah.
from Deputy Supervisor John DeMarco on the 2016 budget. Half year. You're up, John.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need a microphone, John?
Yeah.
You want to grab that
It
microphone?
would be
right
good if
there?
you had one for the,
Yeah, well, you know,
it doesn't record
Just
well.
can't hear.
you can just take it.
Take it
down.
right out of the way. Hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so this is just an overview of where we are in the budget through the first half of 2016. Basically, it's been a pretty stable budget environment thus far. There haven't been any really significant surprises that would cause us to worry about going off track for the year. Revenues as well have been either collected or billed or on plan. And gross spending is under control and consistent with our first half expectations. The forecast for the balance of the year is to be on plan and to meet our budget commitments to the taxpayers. This is kind of hard to see on the screen, but these are the various elements of the gross budget here. And the revenue plan, the net of those two is the net expense budget for the year of $6.9 million. Made up of all these major elements, as you can see. You know, it's kind of hard to read, but it's $4.25 million for general fund, $2.39 for highway. Those are the two biggest items here, obviously. And then on the revenue side, yeah, it's better, Jerry. $726,000 for water and $647,000 in general fund. So if you look at the elements of spending over time, this is gross expense. So this is your 8.8 million. By the middle of the year, you would expect we'd be about halfway there. We're a little bit over halfway through the first half of the year, and the reason for that is because the fire expense is typically paid in the beginning of the year. It's not a steady expense throughout the year. Sure.
Would you like questions now, John, or wait after the presentation?
Go ahead.
Why are you even introducing the fire, which the only reason it's on the tax bill or even goes through the town is because the town has to collect the fire tax, which should not even be incorporated in your discussion.
Well, I mean, it's a matter.
Not an expense to the general fund.
Some,
State report, each fire district has their own reports they send over.
well, similar to water. I mean, water is a service that.
Water is a special district.
Right, but it's a consumable that, you know, that generate, well, can I answer your question?
Fire has nothing to do with the town budget at all.
Okay, well, neither does anything else that gets recovered. The budget is 6.9 million. I'm just trying to bridge back to the gross and the net and show all pieces in full disclosure. So there's a gross expenditure amount, and then there's a net amount that makes up our levy to the town.
Are you putting in the 6,900,000 fire?
The 6.9, no, the 6.9 million is net of the revenues. Our tax levy is $6.9 million.
Including the fire or not?
Including the fire.
The fire, while it's on the tax bill, is not an item in the town board to discuss. It's discussed by the two sets of fire commissioners at their public hearings. It does not belong as part of your town,
It is part of the levy, though, isn't it?
part of the levy.
So all I'm doing here is bridging to the levy.
It's part of the levy, but it's theirs, the two fire districts are subject to their own tax cap.
True. But it's part of the levy. So all I'm explaining here is, where are we against the levy that we booked against taxpayer dollars for the year? Full disclosure, these are all the elements that make up that levy, and this is how we're doing against it. That's all we're trying to say here. All right, so, I mean, the fire is done for the year, and our gross expenditures are ahead by only that amount, basically, for the year. So we're on target. And from a revenue perspective, we're about 50% of the way there, as you can see, on revenues, right? So confirming what I told you on the first page, I'm just showing you the numbers that would suggest that we're on plan for the full year. And, you know, as we look to the second half of the year, you know, we need to maintain diligent focus on the budget controls. We need to continue to pursue economic development opportunities to spread the burden as much as we can, to relieve the burden on taxpayers. We need to leverage grant opportunities, as we have been, to fund town improvement projects like the LWRP that will, you know, that will hopefully make this, you know, make our budget, you know, make our levy something that's more tolerable in the future to taxpayers, and continue to promote a positive vision for the whole town and for the balance of 16 and beyond. So these are the focus areas. I don't see any reason for any concern relative to spending. It looks like we're on track. And, you know, from my review of the details, I didn't see anything that would alarm me in terms of, you know, unforeseen events or reasons that we might be off track for the full year.
Any questions from the board?
No, I thank you very much for doing this. It's, well, that's great. So Al's doing his job and Christina's doing her job?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Doing a fine job. So far, I have nothing bad to say about him.
I think Mark is going to have some questions for you, John.
Mark?
Sure, Mark. Yes. Yes.
And what's the fund balance as of today?
I'm not really sure. Do you guys know?
I didn't hear
The
the question.
fund
What's the fund
balance as
balance?
of today.
The fund balance is, as far as the town is, 723,435, and highway is 302,747.65. So that's $302,747.65 for the highway. We started off with 327,747.65 for the highway, and we took out $25,000 for that last year to bring down taxes. Fund balance was $898,435.94, and we took out $175,000 to take down taxes last year. So the remainder is $723,435.94 in the general fund balance, and in the highway, the remainder is $302,747.65 in the highway department.
Do you know about how that's historically synced up over, let's say, 4 or 5 years ago? Was it much higher or slower?
I think it usually runs around this area, $100,000 in the fund balance. I can't really answer that positively, but if you call Chris up, I'm sure that's around that figure.
It's pretty consistent.
It's been there, and usually they, in your fund balance, I think they always tell you like to keep at least 10% of your overall balance. So it's like 800. So if you have $600,000 in there, you're looking pretty good as far as the fund balance going into the next year. So we have a fund balance of 723 in the general, and like I said, 302 plus change in the highway.
Yeah, and I can verify all that when I look at the ledger. I'll look at the ledger and verify that.
What was your second question, Mark? Did you?
That was it, just one.
You good?
Okay.
Good?
Lights, camera,
Action.
action.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
John, did you sent us this? Is this what you showed us, the same thing as you sent us prior?
Yes.
Okay, didn't you change it at all? Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Thanks, John.
You're not planning on going anyplace, are you? Are you planning on leaving or anything? No, I'm good, good. Comments on the agenda? Okay. Workshop topic, sign law. We have that on hold because we decided last time that we would go forward with our tow code, which we thought was much more important. So
Yep.
the tow code is in the lawyer's hands, and these guys have a date when you're going to meet Ed and the chief and Howard,
Yeah.
right?
Huh? Yeah.
Yes.
Next following Wednesday.
Bayside, it's an ongoing topic. 2016 goals and objection. I think Mr. Baker, Councilman Baker, sent a new.
Yep.
You like to just address it at all? or-
Well, I basically updated this, I call it now the action agenda for 2016. It's just a list of things that we've been talking about, sort of categorized by different departments. I don't think we want to go through it step by step here, do we? Or
No,
if you guys want to comment on it,
No, it was pretty well, yeah, it was.
if you have
it was
things
pretty-
that are
It was pretty
added to-
informative.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
things on there, we're working on a lot of them, and we've completed some of them too, so
yep.
it's pretty encouraging. you know.
So, Danielle, could we put this on the website? Would you?
Yeah.
You okay with that?
Sure, I'm fine with that.
So,
I'll send it to you, okay? So, just for the public, it's just a Word document with basically line items that we can sort of keep track of, things that it's tactical things, it's not strategy, it's just sidewalks and park updates and towing law updates, and just so we can keep track of all the items that we've been talking about. Not the bigger items, not so much the Baysides and so forth, but some of the more tactical things we've been working on. So, if you have any comments or things you want me to add, just let me know. That would be.
And so far, so the board at the last budget put $30,000 in for sidewalks.
Yes.
And so far, we've done 2 sidewalks in Marlborough and 1 in Milton. And
Yes.
we're going to do 1 more in Milton to make it even, 2 and 2.
Do we know what the balance is on that, the money that we allocated?
It's gone,
All of it.
just about.
No, that's all right. No, it's
Talking to
what-
Gail
well, that's
this
what we
morning,
budgeted
I stopped
for,
by
yeah.
and saw him, he said, because we're doing the pad now.
Yeah.
And once we finish the pad and the little strip down here in Milton
Yeah.
by the post office, I
Yeah.
think, yeah, he
No,
said.
I was just curious to see if we budgeted enough for because we wanted to do the 3 projects, so we were able to do that
Yeah.
and do a little bit more. All right.
Right. And,
And there are a lot of improvements to the park we've made that you guys are aware of, and just a lot of things that we're making progress on. So this is just a way to keep track of that.
so, and also the town budget for 20,000 for the park, for maybe some upgrades to the playground equipment. I was just wondering, at this point, if we have any idea. Hey, Scott. That's
The
okay.
big item on out of the 20,000, Al, was going to be, and Scott, you correct me if I'm wrong, was going to be the bocce court covering.
Okay, so that's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
So we should address that and get that done.
right.
Right.
We can't
So
do it
as soon as
until
possible.
the season's over, I've been told. Is that right, Eddie?
Yeah, it's gonna take a couple, at least,
Waiting for the season to be over, get
Yeah.
to the fall.
and then the fall will be better time to work on it anyway.
Yeah, but there's no,
We should get the numbers together.
yeah, but there's no reason why we can't move forward is finding out what prices
Start
are for
bidding
the
for
roof
'em.
and stuff like that. and
Yeah,
move
we-
forward. So this,
We have an
What we have to do is we have to remeasure the court, Tommy, because last time we did it was
Right.
a smaller piece of property, so.
We have a rough idea, but again, yeah.
it was a roughly
Court
10
changed.
10,000, but maybe it's a little more than that now.
It's probably gonna be close, the way the court is now and the way it is, I would guess you're talking about 15 grand at least.
so we could get all that together and we
Yeah.
get the volunteers together, people that are gonna volunteer to do this work, because
Yep.
I'm sure that this
Yep.
is the way we wanna go.
Yeah,
Yep.
I will definitely, we're gonna have before this end of the season, before we go into the playoffs, we're gonna have a meeting with the captains, and that's what I was
Okay.
planning on getting together as far as the volunteers are gonna do.
Okay, good. So just way we're proactive, get it done.
The 15,000 would be materials.
I think
Well,
the
we're gonna get an
materials
exact
alone is gonna be
amount.
15 grand.
All right, so we'd have to make up labor, which we probably can do that, right?
Yeah.
That's the hope.
And again, that's a guesstimate off the top of my head, but usually we're gonna, like the ones we were looking at before was a kit, so you
Yes.
buy a kit. Depending if they make the kit that size, that's what it comes down to, which
If
I'm
it's a
sure.
little big, it's not so bad.
And,
So you don't want a little small.
it was based on putting a metal roof, same as the pavilion, but using 6x6 pillars instead of the metal, or in steel. But kind of match the roof at least.
Right.
And trusses.
So, how do you think we should organize this to get it
Why
going?
don't we just get a committee between myself and one of the other councilmen? Tommy, you don't mind being on the committee with us, do you?
We'll get it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do that, form a
Okay.
committee.
1,
start.
2, 3.
Okay,
We'll get it.
Okay.
sounds good.
Sounds good.
By the next meeting, hopefully we'll have something together.
So we have we formed a committee right here, right now. So Tom Corcoran, Scott Corcoran, and Ed
Yep.
Marinelli. Thank you, gentlemen. So that's goes. Tomback Building, recreation use. Right now, sent out the forms that Vinnie Manisi has written up for us. Met with Joe, Vinnie, and myself at the Recreation Committee, and met the gentleman that's doing the Taekwondo. Very nice guy, and the way to have it set there, he has all the mats on the north side of the building. This way it doesn't disturb the Zumba people.
Yep.
So I think that's a good match between Joe and Vinnie. And we're getting all the correct insurance and everything that we need
Yeah,
for
Vinny's
those.
doing a good job with that.
So I think that's a good match. I think that's,
So understanding policy, when they come to me, we talked about this today.
all right.
They come to me, I refer them to
Right, or you could give him the application, Tom, if you choose, or if you just pass it on to Vinnie, he'll give him the application.
Pass on the application, under that application is going to explain that there's a 50% charge
Yeah,
for the facility.
right,
Based on what they bring in.
right,
And that's just going to be policed by
Vinnie,
the honor system. No,
yeah,
Right.
right,
50% of the,
right.
But if Vinnie walks in there, there's 50 people in there, and there's claiming there's 20, you can say something
It is
about
on the honor system, but I think that it's fair. Hopefully, we'll police it
No one will
as best
take
we
advantage
can.
of it.
well, I think, my opinion is up to you guys, but I think you look at the cost of what we're getting billed on that facility and what we're taking in, probably,
What I was gonna suggest, Al, is,
$100 a month to run that thing, and we're only pulling
yeah, we're coming up to budget season. I mean, I just like to see, what it's cost us this year compared to following years, and what's the difference, if, it used to cost about $9,000, I know, for Tomback, for electrical and
electric and
heat and everything like that. So if we seen it jump to 15,000 this year for some reason, then we might have to relook at this, shared, agreement, right?
We could look at it,
So-
absolutely. I think that'll be a good thing, because we'll have a good sense. Now we have
Right.
2 people in there, and other people are wanting to go,
So who are the two we have now? Who are the two groups?
Zumba and Taekwondo.
Zuma and Taekwondo. And, okay.
And we actually do have 3, because Joe does,
Joe does his own boot
he
camp.
does.
So Vinnie's going to organize the time slots, because obviously the time slots are going to be important.
Right.
It's not being done through the clerk's office.
No, that's going to be between Joe and Vinnie. They're both going to do the time slot and how everything logistics.
Vinnie and
With
Joe.
Vinnie and Joe.
Vinnie and
Do
Joe.
you have the application?
I sent it to
You
him.
got it, right?
Yeah, I sent it to Danielle and
Because
Colleen.
it probably would be a good idea, you have it in your office, to give it to them, and then fill it out to talk to Vince at that
It might
point.
not be a bad idea to have it on the website, they can download it, this way they can have it already filled out before they come in.
Definitely should be on the website. Can we do that? And with,
Yeah, the more we have on the website, the better.
that's where it should be. It should direct them to the website. Nobody in nobody's office, go to the
Actually,
website
Vinnie
and
will
do it
probably
that way.
download it if you ask him to, he can
Yeah.
put it down.
No, we have all the.
But then it also, so what would it say on the website? Recreation use?
It should be under rec,
Okay. Does it have Vinnie's name?
Right.
I think if it gets to be, I would probably put it on the recreation page. Might need to organize it a little bit more with, more, activities going on though, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it under Recreation
I
Committee?
think if you click on rec,
Click on it,
if you click
Under
on rec,
departments?
if you click on rec, it should,
be right there.
you should have like a little icon that says Tomback rental or Tomback usage application or something like that. That's all.
It should be under our Rec Committee, right?
They'll sign an agreement,
Yeah,
produce their insurance.
yeah. Well, first of all, it has to be okay by, those 2 first, and then
They can fill the application.
So, and then, I think Vinnie's plan is to, ask the supervisor, and then I'll ask the board what they feel about, just do the whole logistics about it, so this way everybody's on board. It might be something that the board that just doesn't decide that they want in there, So, I think that's the way it should play out.
All right, I'll keep one, and then again, once it gets on.
Yeah, I send you the form, and just,
Doesn't matter where it's being handed out from.
no, as long as yeah. Right, right. That's the logistics.
So what is Vinnie's title now? What is Vinnie's title now? Does he have a title?
It should be, he doesn't really have a title, but it should be like recreation administrator or something like
Yeah,
that.
So,
He's like administrator,
okay,
volunteer up there.
voluntarily.
administrator, but so is he affiliated with our Rec Committee? Okay, he's part of our Rec Committee, because it lists
should be
now
on there.
Patty and Joe as chairpersons.
To be honest with you, I don't know,
You gotta
we
move
might want
that
to,
microphone up to you.
we might want to call Patty, because I don't know if she's still doing it with Joe or not. Have you talked?
She wasn't at the meeting.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe it's something that it would be Joe and Vince as the co-chairs, but Vince is the administrator part.
We can handle that.
I'm sure we can
We
fix
can
that.
take care of that.
Okay.
I want to call
Right.
Patty.
I haven't heard anything about, is there any furthermore discussion on TOMVAC?
That part of it.
Okay.
Yeah. You're heading toward.
Milton Turnpike and 9W property, I don't know, I haven't
that-
heard anything.
Is that done? Can we
I
put it?
haven't heard anything from Mr. Pollock or from, I know they sold, right? The Villa Bogliari,
Well, I think
they
they,
sold that?
I think
Acquired that?
Villa Bagliari
You're talking about the
satisfied.
property with the sign on it?
No, I'm talking about
Yeah,
Villa
yeah.
the Bagliari, the place itself in Platico. I believe that, that was sold.
Well, I think probably the reason why, because if they did do that, that's probably why they had to satisfy the lien on that property.
Exactly.
Because you couldn't probably do that without it, because it was part of the
Yeah,
assets.
my understanding is they sold it to a Jewish camp or something like that,
Okay.
according to Cindy Hilbert.
Could probably be the reason.
And Mr. Pollock now owns the...
No, he hasn't had anything. They
okay.
still own that.
Villa
Just-
Bagliari, they
just
paid
may
off
be
the
clear.
lien, right?
Right.
So the Jewish
And
camp.
now he wanted more money for the property,
Right.
right?
And that's what
Since
happened.
they paid off the lien, now he wants more money for the property,
raised
and I
the price.
think,
Mr.
Robert
Pollock,
was, still negotiating that and figuring out.
He
how
went
to-
back to 30,000, the way Robert said, and that's what the liens were for.
Right,
Yeah, he wanted to satisfy the liens.
right.
Okay. Sale of Tomback building and old business.
So.
I heard that was pretty interesting last meeting.
Yeah, it was. So,
It would have been 3 to 2.
I guess it's still for sale, right?
Well, it's a question, I mean, obviously, it hasn't changed, but we do have to call Denny. I would give Denny a call and see the exact date that term expires. And if you do want to continue with John J. Lee's, because I saw your comments there.
That was only,
Possibly.
I didn't mean anything by that other than,
Well, I mean, it's a good point. Do we want to continue with John J. Lee's, or do we want to look at someone else? I mean,
I don't think it's a
we're going
matter,
to continue that way.
I don't think it's a matter of the wrong realtor, do you? I think it's a matter of,
I think that it shows up on multiple listing anyway.
I mean, it's
so-
on multiple
does.
listings.
Everyone's
He's
gonna
a
see it.
strictly a commercial
John
realtor.
would know better than
It's
us
up by
about that.
county. It's all
It's
over.
everywhere.
It's everywhere.
So my thing is, okay, we're not going to use it as a rec building. We pretty much put that aside. So now we have to sell it, right? We have to sell it. We're not going to keep it there indefinitely.
So did you determine on keeping the price as?
We didn't discuss that, but
didn't discuss
we need to
price.
talk about that and,
Scott, do you want to have another meeting with him?
Yeah,
And
I could
report
call
back
up
to the
Denny
board?
and we could coordinate a meeting and find out. I know his last recommendation, I think I told you guys, was maybe
$3.99.
lowering it down to $3.99. I was like, that's a little low, but I did talk to John and he said, he gave us some insight if you want to elaborate a little, John, on it.
Well, what I'm experiencing right now is things that are priced right in this market are selling.
Right.
Not priced right, they're not selling.
Right.
It's a soft market. There's so much inventory out there, there's a lot to choose from. So what I would do is I would look at the most recent sales of anything similar to it in the general area,
Yeah.
get an idea, and look at
I would think,
not only sale price, but also what were the taxes,
Right.
versus what they would pay here.
Yeah, we had a few recent sales too, so it might not be too hard to do.
I mean, there's a couple, we all know the monkey in the room. There's a couple drawbacks.
Yeah.
There's a couple drawbacks to our site. It's not as far as the building itself. It's, first off, it's a government building, which sometimes people get scared with government buildings, right? Because we could have the permissive referendum. Secondly, the town water and sewer is not there. We do have gas, but we don't have town water and sewer. So those are two biggies, I think, that are hurting us a little. On 9W, that size of a building, if it had town water and sewer, I think it would be a totally different
Sold it, right?
ballgame,
You don't have,
But
you
we
don't
don't
have
we don't
sewer,
have-
you don't
so you
have
gotta-
water, right?
So I think what we'd do is I think we should have a meeting with Denny, have him pull comps again, right? See what has sold, what hasn't sold in that type of business and recommend a fair price at this point and then see where we go. I mean, it's a
I would
6-month
add-
lease.
I would add there's a few other items, probably the taxes
Well, the taxes too,
and the
obviously.
condition of the building.
so that's all good. I think we should do that, but so we're taking a more aggressive step now, because we need to do this, right? Because the building is sitting there not getting any better. Are there other things that we can consider? Are there tax incentives, other things we can consider to make it more attractive? Or do we want to take that step? I guess, when you talk to Denny, you and Alan, I guess, are going to do that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Are there other things we should be doing because we're not we've pretty much put aside the idea of a rec building, so now we're down the path of selling it, so let's do it.
Okay.
That's kind of what do you guys in agreement?
Yes.
I'm in agreement.
Because in my opinion, it's a good building, but when you go inside, it's not real attractive, and we're not really maintaining it and taking care of it the way we should. So we need to do something here.
Absolutely. I think for
Excuse me?
62, 62,
6,200?
about six, it's,
6,000.
it's a pretty good sized building. It's just the way, John, how it's kind of cut in two with the garages and the main floor. But to me, I look at it as there's a possibility of two different types of businesses that can almost go in there, you know?
Plus, there's additional land.
And you got land in the back too, that could be possibly subdivided or not, you know, so there's a lot of possibilities there. Again, I think Al hit it too, the taxes is probably an issue, government building and water and sewer, and again, the building does need work, so. You're 100% right. I mean, we had it for 6 years, at least 7 years, and really haven't done much to it.
It's kind of, yeah,
So,
it's kind of a mess.
absolutely. Sure. You know, what I'd like to see, maybe, Al, maybe this could put a lot of this to bed too, is, you know, I know we talked to Ron about this once before, 3 years ago. I still can't understand is why we can't put this out to a vote right away and
Yeah,
say.
we tried that.
I know, but it doesn't make sense. Why can't we say we won't sell it for less than X amount of dollars, and if the voters are agreed to that, that takes care of that vote, right?
I think once you put that number out there, whoever's gonna bid on it's gonna go.
Well, yeah, I know that, but, you know, whatever. That way we that erases something off the list,
I mean,
if that's if a scare thing. Because we know it's probably, you know, I know Ralph's gonna get a petition, and that's good. I mean, that's what he wants to do, that's fine. But if that's one of the big things that would hold it up, I don't understand why you can't put it out. I think we're a little behind the game now for this election, but because of all the time things. No, put it out to the voters to say, are you okay with us selling this? Because basically it comes down to, there will probably be a petition, there probably will be a permissive referendum. I mean, you gotta get the amount of petitions, but more than likely you probably
then
will.
it'll be a mandatory.
And then it's a mandatory, and then you have to vote. So to try to get that out of the way early on, why can't we do it, put it out there, say we won't sell it for less than $400,000, are you okay with that? You know, last time Ron talked to us, said you had to have the specific exact number and a specific type business that would go in there.
I think that's.
So it could be
that
right.
makes sound-
It could be right.
Sounds right.
But-
It's like you don't want to put the cart before the horse. You want to know,
Well,
and then you go out
yeah.
and you tell the people, here we are. We're going to have such and such business there, and we're going to sell it for $400,000.
It'd just be nice if you could coordinate that with an actual real election, because it doesn't cost you much to do it that way.
Right.
You have to do a separate election, it's about a $10,000 expense.
Separate
to
vote.
do that. So,
Don't want to do that
Well,
that
we
way.
don't want to do
let's
that.
see what happens. Let's do the first thing, do our due diligence, go to the realtor, see what happens.
How much
and-
does it cost us to retain Mr.
No,
Lease? Nothing?
there's
He
Nothing,
works
no.
on commission.
it's a commission. and
Your
it's-
commission, okay.
And it's a 6-month lease, it goes six
Just
months,
every-
6 months, and if you want to extend it, it's 6 months. And
Well,
they get 4%
I mean,
commission.
I mean, it's apparent the way I feel, so.
Yeah, me too, but we
I
lost
feel
we
like
lost
we
that battle.
shouldn't sell it, so I'm not going to say.
We lost that battle, I think.
Well, you could still keep your opinion.
I know.
My opinion is, don't sell it.
Sure.
I'll probably be
But
the
if we
first
know,
one
but
to
if we,
sign
but okay,
Ralph's petition.
we can take that opinion, and I understand that, I agree with you, but We don't sell it,
I'm
and
not
then,
holding anything
then what are we
back.
gonna do with it?
I'm not restricting anybody on this board to do what they have to do. They have the votes.
Right.
All I'm just saying is I'm voicing my opinion that
And I understand that, and I agree with it, but if we don't sell it, then we're in this suspended animation. We're not selling it, we're not making it a rec center.
$9,000 to $10,000 a year to maintain, and we're not
Exactly.
all right, we're moving
Goes down
forward.
the-
James?
It's your fault. Can you put a non-binding referendum up on whether you should or shouldn't sell it prior to you having a price, just to get a feel?
I don't think so.
I don't know if
We'll
you can or
check.
can't. I just know, I don't
That wouldn't
think,
do any
it would not be enough time to do it now of all the waiting
Yeah.
time that has to go in place. So we probably should have
I
thought
mean,
about
they're
it.
restricted by time.
Well, we tried this, I think the first year I was in, we asked Ron
July,
that.
August.
Is it worth doing this now?
would be
He
very,
said no.
very close.
But I've seen permissive
I don't know.
referendums in the legal section for towns
'Cause you
and
need, like,
cities
30 days.
that say that
in the
they can
public
bid for
hearing,
something
and
up
30
to the
days.
price of, not to exceed $600,000, not to exceed 1 million. You know, I've seen those in there before, so I was kind of, that's what kind of made me ask the question a year and a half ago, saying, should we do this now before an election, set it up for the election? We were told no.
Yeah, I mean, he was clear on it a couple of
Yeah.
times. We did ask. I just,
Which I didn't really
I don't know,
understand.
maybe we gotta ask someone else.
Okay. So you get
If
the
you
right
ask him
answer.
to get the right answer.
Moving on.
Right, municipal parking, hamlets of Marlborough and Milton. Milton, we're gonna get the sign up here saying that municipal parking on the weekends
Alan,
from
would you-
6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
and did you mention an alternate plan that's brewing for the Main Street?
I do, and I'm working with the one property owner, and then there's another, it's two separate properties, but be a lease agreement between another one, so.
That's for a parking lot, right?
Parking, yes.
Were you talking about a different rerouting of traffic plan too?
Yeah, I did speak with the two business owners. Basically, I got to talk to the third one, which is Robert now, on that one, and Mr. Russo, and set up a meeting, but both of them were pretty up, you know, they kind of liked the idea of what I was
Talk to
saying.
Gail about it?
Talked to Gail a while ago about it, and I talked to John Longi about it.
Okay.
So I've talked to, we just got to have a formal sit-down meeting,
Okay.
so.
The
the
lines in
partners.
Marlborough, they're gonna restripe those?
Yeah.
The striping, the county has told me that in a couple of weeks they'll get back to me, and we'll have a meeting exactly where we want different stripings, because Ralph brought up one of
Postal.
you know, by the bakery, a little further down, if you park there to make that turn.
Today, just that you're bringing it up, about 3 parking spaces towards 9W from the driveway that goes in that south of Bakery was a good-sized panel-type truck, somebody's plumbing business, and you actually, in order to get around it, had to go on the yellow or even over it.
Okay.
All right, so it was much too big of a vehicle. A car there is fine.
Yeah.
But they could,
Pickup truck without the tailgate down isn't good, but with the
Okay. I got you. That's what I'm talking
Al,
about.
I didn't catch, what are we doing on did Ed ask about the striping for
The
the parking
striping
space?
on Western Avenue for the vehicles.
For the parking
And also
spaces?
for King Street.
Right, so is that our dime, or whose dime?
Hopefully not,
Right.
because I've been
You're-
talking
you're
to
working
them.
that one, right,
Yes,
okay.
with the county, and they said that they were, matter of fact, I started the dialogue before they actually paved, and they said, yeah, we'll help, we'll do it. They said that they would like to leave things better than it was, so I said, I'll take you up on that, and we'll get striping.
Okay.
So,
Do they talk to the storefront owners about that, or they just have their way of doing it and that's it? 'Cause-
well, you know, there's two thoughts about striping. Some people think,
Well,
you know,
yeah.
it's better without it, and some people, I kind of
I
think.
think you have to have it.
It gives a little order
Yeah.
to the town,
Yeah,
you
it
know?
looks
I
like
thought it helped a lot from where we.
I think the very least, you
Yeah, I
gotta
think
have one on
striping
the
would do it.
corner
Yeah.
Makes it look.
by the DeWitt. I mean, you gotta have it on the corner just so people don't park right on that.
Yeah.
Well, that's Ralph's
At
point.
the very least, you
No,
gotta.
I think we need it.
We
I
took
think,
care of that.
yeah, they might have some
Thanks.
opinions about the angle of it or something. You know, I've talked to a few guys. and I think they're all in favor of
With the new
striping
blacktop
it.
and new striping, it'll look nice.
They might
Yeah.
have some
And only
thoughts about it.
it's gonna be done professionally, and they contract it out.
All right, so you're working in, and it looks like the
Yes,
county
yes,
will do
and I'll
that.
keep the board in the
Yeah,
loop.
great, thanks.
All right, thank you, Al.
You're welcome, Ed. We're going to talk about the proposed water agreement with Newburgh, with our attorney, in
Keep going.
executive session.
We got that email.
Milton Sewer Expansion, 9W, Milton Turnpike intersection. I think the marking's been completed. I think that Brooks and Brooks has done the survey, and hopefully Mr. Larios is getting all the permits that he has to get from DOT
I'd like
and
to
so
get it
forth.
done before the winter.
I asked that, and he said he's going to try, so. Bayside project is ongoing. Design standards, I think we always talk about that. It's going to be part of the LERPs. Sign law, I think we have that on hold. On the Verizon cell tower on Milton Water Tank, it's just as I was coming into this meeting, I got a email from Tectonic, the people that are working on that. In actuality, the correct easement is going to be, the road is going to be put in by Verizon. So
Like it should have been.
that's the original, like I showed you. Alan.
Yeah, it looks good. Long as
So
the
they're gonna
property
do
owner's
that, and
happy.
we'll have the agreement between Verizon and the town very shortly. I sent that to you.
Yeah, I know
I
you
always take care of you.
What I
You're
didn't,
okay. Well, now they
what
got
I
me on
didn't
the
see
thing.
in there, Al, did they change anything on the numbers because of doing
No.
that? They left them the same?
They left it, she indicated they might want a little, maybe the first year back for the road. I said, well, let's talk about that. So nothing's in concrete, so I think we're gonna be all right.
I mean, it is a benefit to us too, so
It's
like
like
you said.
$20,000 a year to the town.
But it's 20
taxpayers.
grand for the lease, which is great. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's a win-win situation.
that's 20 grand into 10 million.
Mike
John,
wins.
we're getting here.
And Milton Train Station, the grant exterior rehabilitation, I talked to somebody from DASNY today. They are overloaded. So she said they're just starting to hire people because they recognize that they don't have the proper staff. But unfortunately, the people that they have to hire, they have to train. So something like the 150,000 member item from Senator Larkin, we won't hear anything probably in the next 4 months. So we're not going to start on anything until we hear from them that
Yeah,
it's
I
a go.
wouldn't, no, don't touch it until,
And
you know.
we seem to be at the financial stage with the infamous 50,000 for the roof. So hopefully that'll go through and we'll get the 50,000. So we did the SECRA, the last thing they were required was the SECRA and the SHPO document, and we did all that. We did receive $2,500 from NYSERDA to do the
Solar.
permit for the solar. Thank you, Tom. That seemed to have gone pretty well. $2,500 is $2,500. We'll take it. It's in our general fund. So a new business. Tom, you want to talk about,
Why don't we start with the cell nodes? We got Mark Cooling, right?
sure.
He's from Tilson, Verizon representative. I gave you a packet.
Okay.
To give you an idea what the node looks like, and Mark can pretty much explain a little bit more. We talked about this at the planning board meeting this past Monday, and Ron had sent out an email saying
Right.
the town board will have to take action on this to give them an idea of what we want to do. Full-blown site plan or not, again, you look at what they are.
Right.
Mark will talk a little bit about it. And the only thing about discussion with Ron, to maybe just tweak something in our telecommunication code to address it, because obviously when the code was written, these weren't even.
Right.
So Mark will clear up a little bit more.
Mark, would you like to use the microphone?
Yeah, use the mic-
Introduce yourself?
So it gets recorded for posterity.
Yeah, do a little song and dance for us.
Review the packet, any other questions, Mark will talk a little
This-
bit. He has one here, Verizon, it gives you a picture
I work for Verizon Wireless, and we're in the process of working on a project to enhance the wireless coverage along the 9W corridor. And we came and talked to Tom in regards to what the process would be in order to install our equipment within the area. And there's a number of different things we're doing. The equipment that we're installing is it's called a small cell. It's a small cabinet, roughly the size of a transformer, that goes on what we're doing, going on a wooden utility pole, and then an associated antenna that's either on the top or slightly lower down. It is done as an attachment with an agreement from Verizon and Central Hudson. All these poles are joint owned. And so what we're looking to find out is how the town wants to look at those from a permitting standpoint. And then there's like 4 different scenarios. The main one we're looking at, obviously, is we're going on 9W, public right-of-way on the state DOT. So that issue is with the state. The other ones would be if we went on a side street, which would be a municipal right-of-way on an existing wooden pole, how you would view that. Would you view it as a normal attachment? Say Central Hudson came out and wanted to add a transformer, would you treat it similar to that, where they're just getting a work permit to add the equipment there? And how would that be treated? The next way would be a wooden pole that we would place on private property with an easement. Once again, it would be placed by a CLEC, which is the competitive local exchange carrier, or a phone company. But how would the town want to see that? And then finally, if we went and came to you about placing a pole on municipal property, but that's not right of way. And an example of that might be one of the places we were looking at was by the library. And I looked at the library. The library's got a whole new...
Milton Library, Marlborough.
Marlborough.
Yeah, I'm
But-
sorry, 9W, sir.
But across the street, there's a pole there that we wouldn't necessarily go on, but we might want to place one right next to that. So it would be a question, one, for the board, whether or not you'd entertain an easement or a lease for municipal property, but then how do you permit it? And the permitting question was really how this all came up, because this is kind of in the beginning stages, and we're trying to figure out, what the process is and how to approach it.
Do you have this in other towns?
Yes.
And what towns are that?
Right now, one we're working on, City of Troy. Their process is they're giving us a barricade permit, basically because we have to, control traffic. It's the same as a bucket truck coming out, parking on the side of the street and putting the equipment up. So that city is addressing it through barricade permits. New York State Thruway gave us a work permit. DEC is doing it through a work permit. There have been other communities that have gone the exact opposite, one being Amherst. But for the most part, most municipalities are treating it as, the utility company coming and asking for, a permit to do work on their public right-of-way.
Now, in the beginning, you said that you and Central Hudson co-own the poles?
Verizon.
Verizon.
And I have to be careful.
Verizon and who?
Central Hudson.
And Central Hudson.
Central
Yes.
Hudson, I think
Yes.
owns a certain distance on the pole to Verizon.
Correct.
Because I'm asking you this is, you wanted to put these up, the small network nodes up. Does this mean AT&T can do it? Does this mean,
Correct.
so they can still do it? So you
Correct.
can have one of yours and AT&T,
Yep.
Sprint, whoever it is.
The FCC has mandated it that there can't be any discrimination.
Got it.
And so any of the wireless companies can come and do that. There is also an opportunity where a third party may choose to do that and rent the space out, but that's a different scenario. What we're looking for is strictly for Verizon's use. Verizon Wireless. I have to be careful on how
Yeah,
it's brought for a lot of reasons. But
because I'm just, curious about this, because if this is the way it's gonna go, then our poles are gonna look like,
Christmas trees.
they're just gonna be whacked
How
up
many,
with these boxes.
how many of these do you plan on putting out there? Like, what's the,
the number between here and 84, well, I'm sorry, we were looking about 11 from, I'm drawing a blank, just about a mile beyond Mount Rose,
Okay,
and to Route 84.
yeah,
Well, that's your biggest problem is.
that's a bad zone right there.
Drop calls like crazy.
so they have the little, I see on here, the canister on the top, and then you have a box on the bottom. There's actually two things on there.
Correct.
Yeah.
So what Alan's saying is if other companies decide to do the same thing, we would have 2, 3 boxes on the bottom and 2, 3 nodes on the top,
They would be on different poles.
or different poles.
Correct.
Nothing
So
on
you're
the same
talking about one box per pole then?
Yeah, I mean, and that gets pretty much regulated by, for the most part, Central Hudson. Central Hudson's the one that controls the poles for the most part. And they make the determination of what they're willing and not willing to have on those poles.
So you're proposing this from 84 to a mile north of Mount Rose or south of? Okay.
Approximately, yeah.
So how many of these would there be? 11? 11, you said?
Yeah.
So the range is what?
The range is approximately a radius of half mile, quarter mile to half mile. But these are specifically to cover gaps in coverage due to basically data usage. So they're being specifically placed out there to cover specific places. So they don't necessarily have to tie up because there is a macro system that's there. There is a coverage, but it's not solid and it's not consistent.
So what, go ahead, John.
Yes.
It's both. The problem you have is you have, we'll say, coverage, but not the best coverage. So when people are using it in areas where you have poor coverage, it's very intensive. It overloads that, so the system works harder to cover those areas. So then you end up having a capacity issue because you have spotty coverage. So by filling in those areas, you end up freeing up a lot of the network.
Now, what we can do is install these cells. Do I have this right, that we could potentially move the bottleneck down to the network, for the network to be able to handle it?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
So Mark, what benefit is this to the municipality? I mean, I know the end user, but
That's a big
what
benefit.
do we get for looking at these things? What is the, is it monetary? or-
Monetary-wise, there wouldn't be anything other than customary fees associated with the use and maintenance of, the permits. Obviously, if we went on municipal property, outside of the right-of-way, yes, there would be, and that would be something we would talk to you about. And that's pretty much about it, other than enhanced coverage and, in theory, providing a less intrusive network. So you're not building any big towers, you're not, making a larger installation. These are thought of as being put up and out of sight.
Are you so 9W is the area you're kind of concentrating on now?
For right now, yeah.
In Newburgh and Marlborough? You're not considering any other side roads like
They're, to be honest,
Latin Road or something?
they're putting out designs,
How about right in town?
they're putting out designs
'Cause-
incredibly quickly.
Because
I mean,
coverage is pretty spotty in Marlborough, all over. It's
Yeah.
a big complaint,
Yeah, it's a tough area to cover.
because of terrain.
Yep,
This town might help.
yeah, so,
The one in Milton might help, is that what you're saying? Is the one in Marlborough operational on the tower in Marlborough?
I honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I would assume so,
I would, geez,
but I don't know.
That happened a while back.
I know, but I would hope the coverage would be better, but it hasn't resulted in such.
Is your recommendation, Tom, just a work permit, like most of these municipalities have been,
If you're asking me, I would say, yeah, for them to go through a full-blown site plan for five,
no, I think that's crazy.
town that are architectural.
It might even be that many.
I mean, my opinion, I think,
Tie up a lot of red tape. I mean, a work permit under, just one permit, to get that.
For 11 units?
Work permit for me to look at and see what's going on,
which is in
to know where they are in town, have them on file, yeah. And if it's gonna eliminate us putting 5 or 6 or 7 full-blown towers in town,
yeah, I think it's a good
it's the way of the future. Yeah, I'm not in favor of full-blown site plans, the work permit, I'd be in favor of it in front of my office.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
But I would, discuss with Ron and how it fits in here and what exception he has to make, so there's no, blowback. as far
Right,
as code.
right.
And then I think that's kind of all it would take. I mean,
Would it even take a change in the code if we went by permits, if we,
well, I was just gonna say,
Wrote up
should
a-
we do a fee, put it in the fee
yeah,
schedule?
fee schedule or
I'd be
permit?
fine if I said I know the full, again, that's why Mark, it's easier for him to tell.
Right.
For me to know, how this code book describes the node.
Right,
And how it now is so advanced that it's beyond what the code was
Right.
restricted to do. I mean, this was a 2002 code.
right, so,
14 years later, these weren't even introduced.
Right.
So again, if Ron thinks there's just an exception to one of these sections of the code, then it's maybe just an exception.
Okay.
That a full-blown telecommunication facility does not, as per described as a cell node.
okay.
But is this something we should put into the fee schedule as a fee with an application, so it actually shows it that,
Yeah, I'm gonna need something. I mean,
Yeah,
I wouldn't make it
absolutely.
up. I mean, that we can discuss that.
Yeah, we can discuss it.
And Mark's been pretty honest with us as far as, what towns do, don't, and what a fair number would be for, for both of us.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
thank you.
All right, you want next, you want the subdivision by
Yes,
road?
subdivision.
Subdivision by road.
By road, so you've got, Ron Glass, I got a question from George Russ. The first little two-pager that I gave you states that. The real question here is, does a road substitute utility for a applicant to go in front of the planning board to do a subdivision? Town roads naturally subdivide two pieces
No.
of property.
I don't think so.
Obviously, it's subdivided to two pieces, and if you look at our maps, it's denoted by that little C that comes across the road joining two
Divide it,
properties.
but it's not
The
subdivided.
road itself is the natural barrier, but our code says that the road doesn't constitute a subdivision. And the two letters I have attached, Ron had wrote in previous cases in 2005 and 2011, two examples that we've done consistently over the last 11 or 12 years that we don't recognize the town road as a natural subdivision.
Right.
The road will create natural meets and bounds, but again, the one email that I wrote back, and I only responded after Ron said that maybe just a definition would change that, and I don't believe so, because in our section of the code, does that line take that lot on the other side of the road, make it non-conforming? If the zone requires it to be a 2-acre minimum, like in the HD zone, is it only 1 acre, and are we creating an unconforming lot? If the lot is created, the zone addresses that once the lot's created, that a rec fee has to be paid and/or dedication of land, that would have to be addressed. So,
My opinion is,
lot by deed
Let
only,
him finish.
yeah,
I don't irate.
creation of a lot by deed only.
I asked him for
not
half an hour, so he got
clarification from the planning board, would have to be addressed, pretty deeply in the design standards, of the subdivision.
So,
I just-
past practice, I'm sorry, past practice has been, we haven't done anything, this is not what we done, this is not what we have done in the past.
Correct,
Okay.
two letters you have attached.
And so, talking to Cindy Hilbert, she already notified the applicant that it's not in our code book, that we just don't do this, right? So, they know about it. So I don't know what's stirring of this, because I have an opinion that it stays the same, that they have to come and it's a subdivision.
Yeah, but I just want to ask a question, because didn't we have an applicant come in front of the planning board a few months back and was saying that he owns property, wanted to do a certain project, and he was told he couldn't do it because he didn't have the property, because a road divided the two parcels.
What was that in here?
We had an applicant a few months back.
That was,
I know who it was,
yeah.
Yeah, but
he had-
he's not saying that
Is
road
that
is
the-
subdividing.
He's saying
He
that
still has to
with
go
the
in front of the
pond?
planning board and
Is
have
that
to
the
do a
one with the pond?
subdivision.
No, he wanted to do a project,
Yeah, I
and
know
he
what you're
bought
talking
enough
about.
property, and they said, no, the road separates the property, so it's two separate lots, so you don't have enough property to do a specific project. So,
No, but
That's
in this case, he's actually saying the road is there, and he wants to use that as the subdivision of the two properties.
I know what he's saying.
Automatically,
I
without
know
going to
exactly
a
what,
planning board.
I know exactly what they're
But you
saying,
gotta
but I'm
go to
just
the
saying
planning
the other
board to do
applicant
a real subdivision.
was told he couldn't because the
Yeah,
road
well,
divided his
was
property.
that the case that the piece that was, one of the pieces he wanted to do something on was too small?
Well, let's address the
Let's address
issue of
this, but I
what's
just had that
happening
question.
now.
I mean,
I don't want to go backwards.
Right, I mean, so somebody's come to the board, the planning board, has this piece of property, and they're saying that it's already subdivided because there's a public road that divides it. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think doesn't, no, so.
No.
So,
No.
Addressed by you because, Patty Brooks wanted to address the town board, and I brought it to your attention.
You know.
I mean, they're gonna have to go
Tom,
through,
Tom?
these surveying anyway, right, Tom? They're gonna have to create two separate plots, you have to have it surveyed, which is the greatest expense anyway. Are they trying to get by with a little bit of expense?
They want to do a
with that?
deed by monument?
Going to the county by creating meets and bounds and creating a new deed for that property.
Right.
Unfortunately, Ulster County will take that. And I don't know why, and it's not in my realm of expertise, but if a lawyer walks up to Ulster County and files a meets and bounds description.
Without a planning board?
Ulster County will file. And what will happen is, again, our maps won't get updated, so that model still look the same. Our map is, we don't have a filed map in the town. The county will have the map looking the same, they won't have my law on file, so they won't create a new lot. Our code goes out the book because was that lot conforming to the district? Did we correct, we didn't collect the rec fee or a donation of land as were prescribed in there. But like Al said, our past practice has been that we don't do it, and it has been addressed by Mr. Bless in 2005 and 2011 with letters. So past practice,
So
we don't do it.
I think the board's in agreement that,
We're in agreement.
are you in agreement?
We're all agreed.
Okay, we all agree that it stays the same. They have to go in front of the planning board.
You get addressed with that, at least you're ahead, you know what's going on, you know there's been past practice, and you know everything about it. Just wanted to be on board.
So would this, would the planning board chairman need a letter from you or from me stating that,
At this point, I don't think they need anything.
Okay.
I mean, I think I think this was a precursor warning that
okay,
Mrs. Brooks was going to
Train's coming down the track.
to you
okay,
to present this case, and I wanted you to have the history
Right.
of Ron's response that I was included in,
okay,
that most of you weren't. So this is just a heads up. You might not have to address it all, but if you do, that's the history.
you got it,
You know, we have decided, or we will decide on what to do.
you got it. Solar farms.
Solar farms is the last one. We have a request for a 20-acre solar farm, and we knew this was coming, right? I guess we discussed this over the last 6, 8 months.
Yep.
And a couple of my, building permits and speeches. But 20-acre solar farm being presented on Hepworth's property.
You didn't give us anything from this, did you, Tom? Did you?
Yeah, it's the last one.
Oh, Gmail? Okay.
Which Hepworth property?
About
One right around my house.
This one,
All right, 9W, yeah.
Right behind her.
Okay.
the Verizon.
this one's about Verizon, Tom.
You want to look at the solar on it?
I don't.
I've
I
got,
have one about the Verizon.
all right, yeah, we just got the word.
Don't worry about it.
That that there's your request for a solar farm. We have not, and we've talked about it, we haven't addressed it in the code book. This is kind of the wind turbine all over again. It come to me prior to getting in the book, we have to place it. So, quick discussion, I don't believe it's a huge thing that has to be made 10 pages in our book. I think things that have to be addressed, what district do they belong in?
Right.
My opinion would be RAG1, it's our larger district, you don't want any R, R1, C1, already our commercial district.
That's what we discussed
something.
you know, some type of
Now-
construction for the neighboring properties.
Question on this parcel, is it part of the farm?
It has a farm exemption, and the city's already addressed this, saying that any portion thereof that's cut off, or, and again, I haven't got the,
Right.
take
Yeah.
that, we should be leasing the property, I don't believe she'd be selling it. So if she was to lease this 20-acre parcel, that those 20 acres would now be exempt from the farm exemption, and then get a commercial tax base put on it.
Right.
And I think if we had meetings on this, I think it actually even goes back 5 years, that they would actually
They
have
would
to
have
pay
to give
back
back 5 years.
all the taxes for the past 5 years.
Yeah, the CAC is going to meet in August.
So it's
and
not
we-
just
we've-
now, from now on.
So,
We hit all the points that you have
Yeah.
addressed.
so Tommy, this is not going to be for personal use, this is going to be for commercial production of electricity?
Right.
Supplying Central Hudson.
Where
So that's where we,
specifically?
that's where we really got to start thinking a little bit more about this code. Because
In that-
this is a lot different from a farmer who's powering a cooler or their CA rooms and their houses. All right, this is commercial production, so we're going to allow commercial production in our ag, understanding that we're going to tax it correctly, so I understand that. But we're also introducing commercial development in residential areas. So we got to be careful with this one.
Yep.
Because, I mean, look, I'm all about taxes, you guys know me.
I
And
do.
I'm about development. So, but what I'm saying is, you know, quality of life too. I mean, people do buy houses up in the back for a reason. You know what I mean? So,
110%. But again, the solar farms on their end, I believe is gonna require a minimum amount of acreage, where we want a minimum amount of acreage. So to put it into C1 or HD.
oh, I understand that, I get that.
I think the minimum is 20
No,
acres, right, Al?
yeah,
That's why I
20
recommend
acres,
that
what we can.
we seriously talk about setbacks and buffers.
Mm-hmm.
Because of, you know, the residential homes that do exist in the RG1 district. So
Mm.
even though this is a 20-acre parcel sitting on a 40-acre piece, they abut residential right
They
up
do.
down Lyons Lane and back on Paula Drive and
and
down
I,
Chestnut.
and I
I think
think
the
what we
setbacks
also.
is gonna be a big
Yeah,
issue
it's
too.
not only setbacks, we have to be cognizant of infrastructure. They have to
Yeah.
deliver that electricity back to the grid. So if these farms do start popping up, you have to, you know, be cognizant that they're gonna need wires to get the power back out to the grid. So we're also gonna have to work, or at least be thinking of that. Like, yeah, you could have some panels on the ground, but that power that's generated has to get back out to your grid. And depending on how much power you're generating is depending on how big that infrastructure is gonna be to get it back out to the grid.
Well, 20 acres is a pretty big,
It's pretty big. 20 acres is big.
There's a pretty heavy line that runs that way.
Once you come back off of 9W behind the pool, you're talking about 20 acres in that area. It's anywhere from 5 to 6.
Which, this area might be a little bit different, but I'm just thinking when you get further up into the back is what I'm thinking about.
So, by the way, what's the algorithm for taxing?
What's that?
That's what I was just thinking.
What's the algorithm for taxing?
Well, he said that the property that's gonna be used, that cannot be used for farming, would be taxed as a commercial entity.
You can be
So-
taxed as a commercial entity.
So even
At
if
the
it's
value
40
of whatever
acres.
she figured.
You-
That
we-
would be
we don't
determined
know
by
those
Cindy.
numbers.
Well, that's why I said it's production.
we don't know those numbers
We
yet.
don't
That
know
would
the
be
numbers.
determined by the assessor, what the value of that property is, based on, I'm sure,
What she's gonna be producing.
What the outfootage is and what they're getting in financial return, and what the cost of the value of the property is.
Yeah,
It could be a
well,
It's how
significant
much
number.
power she's gonna generate too, he or she.
And again, it's a 5-year kickback that I believe they have to give back on top of just going forward. They have to go back 5 years and say
Pay a tax
whatever the
impact.
taxes would have been 5 years back, you have to pay up front. So,
20.
20 acres.
20. 20 out of 40.
Parcel off of what she probably has is maybe 40 there, maybe 50.
because a farmer can actually do a solar farm on their property, but they only could do it for their
their
own
home.
personal use, and they can't
one of the-
produce more
Yeah.
for the grid.
They
So-
could do net metering and
Right.
back
Net
to their
metering.
farm and stuff like that.
Yeah, and powers coolers and stuff like that.
Just did a study for a client, and for a 15-acre parcel, they could generate about $250,000 a year worth of revenue.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's what it's worth.
for what it's worth, you know, it's probably one way to go about assessing.
That's part of your strategy, John.
We're getting close,
Put
John.
that on
10
that, put that
million,
line
keep
on
that.
there.
Well, that's why we were looking at the transfer station to
So,
put a solar farm, right?
Tom,
Yes, cancel those
if I could recommend that the next CAC meeting that you come.
And
I'll let you know the
electric
date.
lights, you know what I mean? So.
And we could start working on that. Because we're pretty close, Scott and I and the committee have been working exactly on this large farm stuff, so.
Yeah.
So that being said, talking about large, I don't know if everybody's seen the Freeman. It says, local opposition mounts to Coast Guard planned anchoring sites along Hudson River. So what they're proposing is to put these large ships that travel up and down the Hudson, designed to carry up to 8 million gallons of petroleum products, biochemical products, and other hazardous material. Ford said that the size of the vehicle is a concern. So if you could imagine, they're saying, and they're looking at Marlborough and Milton particularly. In
Who is this
Milton,
from? I'm sorry, who's looking at Marlborough?
the Coast Guard
Okay,
to warehouse these big ships.
okay.
Because the city can't handle them, so they're thinking of ways where they can
Well,
pawn them off onto
It's
other
just,
places.
this is petroleum products?
The ships have petroleum
Because
products.
they're not offloading them, that's why.
Excuse me?
Because the demand is so low, they're not offloading.
Yes.
They've been turning them
Whatever
around.
demand or not demand is, I'm just
Exactly.
bringing to the attention of the board that it's a concern of mine
Yeah.
that we're going to have 74 acres for up to 2 vessels with a draft of less than 40 feet long-term usage. I mean,
Did they
74 acres off of Milton is going to block our,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Where are they
Did they say exactly where it's
Milton,
gonna be?
deep water port,
Just
so,
sitting in the river?
yeah, they're just going to shove them in the river, and in Marlborough, it's 154 acres.
That's the art, now this is an article you're
This
quoting?
is an article. So,
Can you forward that?
what I did was, and actually, I called Mr. Jarentine up to see what the legislator is doing about this. It was a concern of ours. And he said they were looking at it, and then I called the executive of Michael Hines, and he was very, very upset about this whole thing, and he called Senator Schumer and Senator Hildebrand?
Yeah, yeah.
Gillibrand.
Gillibrand, yeah.
And so he's very concerned.
I would think Newburgh would also be a
And who
potential.
gives them the right of way to just do that? They just,
Well, the Coast Guard
It's a
sort of,
Coast Guard.
Coast Guard?
It's a federal waterway.
yeah,
Oh,
federal
it's the
water.
Coast Guard themselves?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's a federal
yeah.
waterway.
That's different.
So,
I don't think we're gonna,
Holy mackerel.
so they didn't have any public anticipation in this, any public meetings or anything, so it is a deadline, so I would
What's the
ask the board if I could write something in support of not having it blocked.
By all means.
could you, is that electronic? Can you forward that to me?
This,
It's the first-
I'll give you the website. I mean, I'll send you to.
Send me the link to the website.
Yeah.
It's cool, yeah, I never read that.
Get this and God knows what.
Okay,
Make a
so
big mess.
since I got your permission, I'll do that. I mean, it's a big deal.
All
It's
these
a big deal.
tankers are filled with oil.
Yep.
Don't
Well,
have nowhere
Highland's
to
drinking
put it.
water
It
comes
is
out of
unless-
the river.
Yeah, people are concerned about the
sure
drinking
they'd be-
water.
On the other side of the river.
Yeah, the inlets. So, we discussed new business, correspondence real fast. I see our attorneys here, and then,
So we need to go to solar all the way.
so, correspondence, the American Legion, dear Supervisor Lanzetta, V. Sutton Post, Ladies Auxiliary of the American Legion would like to have an ice cream social fundraiser on Sunday, July the 31st, from 4 to 6 p.m. They're asking for the pavilion. Is that a problem, Danielle? I need a motion to,
Make that motion.
Second.
all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Got a letter from Mr. Appler saying on 2/29/16, we hired Michael Scataro on a probationary period for 6 months. The stipulation was that he had to get his CDL license within that period. Mr. Scataro took this test, passed with flying colors, and was awarded his CDL Class B license on July 19, 2016. Michael is an asset to the town of Marlborough and our highway department. He's a willing worker with a positive attitude, and has the capabilities to accomplish the work he is assigned. I respectfully request that he is assigned a permanent job as an MEO with the Town of Marlborough Highway Department as soon as possible. Anybody have a problem with that, or?
No, he's a good kid. He's a hard
Okay.
worker.
Very
Fill in
good.
a spot that was vacant. So
Right.
it's good.
Nice.
So a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Yep.
Well, he is
Favor?
really good, Dan.
Yep.
So moved. I talked to the gentleman, Mr. Kent, who has sent an email requesting a sewer system for 6 and 8 Milton Turnpike. I talked to Chip today, and he's willing to do whatever Mr. Scatoro or Mr.
Santoro.
Liddell did. Scatoro?
Santoro.
Santoro.
Jimmy
Not
Santoro.
Scatoro. Santoro.
Scatoro we just hired.
Yeah, we just hired Scatoro, Santora. Santora is Mr. Santora and Mr. Lovedell,
Which means basically they pay the,
they paid
pay
to
the
get in
town,
the sewer
right?
district, they played the soft cost, and there's a contract,
Yeah,
so.
but has anybody contacted Gail to see what his schedule is?
No, I just brought this up to see if the board is
Oh,
okay with it.
We've seen it every year.
We've seen it every year since I've been on the
Okay,
board.
so he's agreeable to go with the soft cost and whatever the cost is to put it in?
Okay.
So I wanna make sure the
Fine.
board's okay with
I'm
that,
fine
and
with
I'll just start
Fine.
asking how much the money is. Huh?
Finally, he's okay with that.
Yeah. 2.5 years later?
I asked him today, he said he's fine.
All right.
As long
So
as
with the board's permission, I'll move on that. Your permission,
Got our
board?
permission.
Thank
Well,
you
it's
very
a good
much.
time if he can move quick, the road's half all ripped up.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Man, Santora, Scatora, what on to me? So public comment. Yes, James?
Would you please explain exactly what the Coast Guard wants to do and why they want to do it, where these ships are going to?
Well, I could refer you to the article, but they're thinking about putting these big ships right where Dock Road is in Marlborough and Dock Road in Milton. And they're thinking of warehousing them for a certain period of time. Nobody knows.
In the
They
water.
haven't had any public hearing. In the water.
Big
So,
barges.
big barges, and what they explain in this article, how much area these big barges and big ships would take. So in Milton, it's a certain amount, and in Marlborough, it's a larger amount. So a lot of people are concerned about, because some people take their water from the Hudson, they're worried about contamination of their water. So this is what this article was about, and they're opening it up to public hearing, but it's a written public hearing, so that's why I'm asking the board if they'd be comfortable for me to do that. Now, I will send you the article because I really don't want to go into exactly what they're saying because it's a 4-part article. And if you like, you could actually take mine. Here it is, James, right here.
Al, I would assume the Marlborough Yacht Club, the other business in
Anything
in
over the
Marlborough,
Hudson.
certain,
Yeah, you
the
wouldn't
train
have a
station,
view of anything.
No,
It was
the Milton Landing folks. I mean,
Falcon,
you can-
Recreation
Yeah,
problem.
you can enlist all these people in your letter, or maybe you ask them to write their own letters, but,
But they're asking for the municipality.
I'm surprised
so-
that I gotta talk to a couple of my friends, 'cause I'm surprised the fire coordinators haven't
Yeah.
had their
Yeah,
input. Both
that kind of
Dutchess and Ulster County fire coordinators haven't been involved in the fire.
I saw it in the record, and then I read it, and said, I think they just talked about barges. And now, all of a sudden, they're talking about large ships, and
keep them on the journey.
that's why, Ralph.
That's the belief.
Have that in Rockland County where they have those mothballed ships?
Yes, it's Tompkins Cove.
These are gonna be probably
Starting point.
active tankers, Ralph, that are gonna be full of product.
That's crazy.
Same thing.
Waiting to be offloaded.
Okay, Mark?
What's the price of Convac right now?
425.
425, Mark.
29.
429.
It just went up.
429.
I have another question. You mentioned that when you were talking about the water agreement with Newburgh, that you were going to executive to discuss that.
Yes.
Can you tell me under what number of the 8 allowable?
This would be a lawyer, municipality confidential. Legal, representative talking to the municipality about a contract.
So your attorney is here for that purpose?
Right behind you.
Yes,
Is there, so when you're talking about simply attorney-client privilege?
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Ron, did you get that? Okay. Okay.
Agree, Elon?
Ralph's waving his finger.
Ralph's waving to you.
Yes.
Two meetings ago, I brought up about the Riverview Drive, just north of CBS Plaza.
Yes.
Possibility of getting
Yes.
north and south turn
Yes.
lane.
Yes.
Somebody was gonna talk to DOT. Has
Yes.
that been done?
I did. I did talk. He said it would add more confusion if the municipality put those stripes in there. Because by law, a tractor and trailer has the right to go in the right or left lane to make the turn.
There you go.
I'm making a motion to go to
Well,
executive.
I got one thing before we go, I'm sorry, because I forgot, I want to bring this up, because I talked to you about it a little bit. I've met with Elena Cordani, she
Yeah.
owns and I know you talked to
I
her.
talked to her a few
But this is
times.
about something different,
Oh, okay, I talked to
and
her
it's
the other
about, and I want to ask Jerry about it. She's going to come next meeting, so I want to update you on this.
Okay.
She's very concerned about all the violence that's been going on, and the police, not in our community, but everywhere, right? The police violence and the shootings, and I agree with her, there's a lot of things going on. And she's trying to coordinate meetings with Newburgh, Poughkeepsie, Marlborough, Highland, to try to come together and have discussions with board members and police departments, and see, is there something we can do as a community, right? And go back to the schools when school opens and educate the kids on what's going on and what we should and shouldn't do and things. It's a really good thing that she wants to do, and she wanted to know if the board was even interested in that, but she will be coming probably next meeting to discuss it, and if it's something we want to do, if Jerry is willing to maybe work something out and we could coordinate this, but I wanted to bring it up to you before we went into executive.
All right, thanks, that was good. I'll second Ed's motion to go into executive.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
All in favor of going into
Aye.
executive session?
All right, and there's the meeting, September 14th.